The Second World War, which took place between 1939 and 1945, undoubtedly represents one of the darkest and most traumatic periods in human history. It was a conflict of global proportions that reshaped entire continents and left a profound legacy for future generations. This historical period is crucial for understanding the geopolitical and social dynamics of the contemporary world. The nature of the conflict was characterized by unprecedented violence, fueled by extreme ideologies and systematic hatred. The barbarities committed during these years called into question the very foundations of civilization. It is essential to analyze these characteristics to grasp the destructive scope of that time. These years of conflict culminated in immense tragedies, including the Holocaust, a genocide that embodies the ultimate expression of dehumanization. The war was not only an armed conflict but also a laboratory of ideological and practical horrors. It is imperative that we never forget the lessons it left us. The triggering event of World War II was the invasion of Poland by Nazi Germany on 1st September 1939. This unilateral aggression marked the beginning of an unstoppable chain of events that would soon involve the entire world. The reaction of the Allied powers was immediate, although insufficient to stop the German advance. The conflict unfolded through several phases, each with its own strategic peculiarities and decisive moments. Initially dominated by the Axis offensive, it then saw a progressive reversal of the trend in favor of the Allied powers. Knowledge of these phases is crucial to understanding the complexity of the war. The main Axis powers were Germany, Italy, and Japan, nations united by authoritarian regimes and expansionist ambitions. These nations formed a military and political bloc that challenged the existing world order. Their combined actions led to devastation on a global scale. During the first years of the conflict, the Axis conquests were impressive, coming to control much of Europe and Asia. The German advance in Europe and the Japanese advance in East Asia led to the subjugation of numerous peoples and territories. This expansion threatened to permanently alter the global balance. Italy's role in the conflict was particularly complex and tormented. Initially neutral, it entered the war on Germany's side in June 1940, convinced it could achieve rapid territorial gains. This decision proved to be a strategic error, dragging the country into a disastrous and unprepared conflict. After the armistice of September 8, 1943, Italy was occupied by Nazi forces who established the Italian Social Republic. This period marked a profound division within the country, with the south liberated by the Allies and the north under German fascist control. It was a period of great suffering and sacrifice for the Italian people. In response to the Nazi occupation and the continuation of the fascist regime, the Italian resistance was born. This partisan movement was composed of men and women from diverse social and political backgrounds. They courageously opposed the invader and the collaborationist regime. The goals of the Italian resistance were clear: to fight the German occupation and overthrow the fascist regime. They fought for freedom, democracy, and national independence, paying a high price for their ideals. The resistance contributed significantly to the country's liberation. The Holocaust, also known as the Shoah, represents the systematic persecution and extermination of approximately 6 million European Jews. This genocide was a crime against humanity unprecedented in its scale and brutality. Its memory serves as a lasting warning against hatred. The perpetrator of this horror was the German Nazi regime, led by Adolf Hitler. It developed and implemented a policy of racial elimination based on a delusional and inhuman ideology. The Nazi extermination machine operated with a cold efficiency that still shocks today. The Holocaust was a genocide meticulously planned and executed not only in Germany but throughout the occupied territories. Every stage, from discrimination to annihilation, was orchestrated with bureaucratic precision and military ruthlessness. The victims were stripped of their dignity and humanity. The ideological basis of this persecution was an aberrant racism, which considered Jews a mortal threat to the purity of the Aryan race. This racial pseudoscience provided the justification for a policy of total extermination. Nazi propaganda fueled a deep and irrational hatred. The primary mechanism through which the Holocaust was perpetrated was the system of extermination camps. These places of horror, spread throughout occupied Europe, were designed for mass murder through poison gas, forced labor, and hardship. Their efficiency in causing death was terrifying. A prime example of this system was the Auschwitz-Birkenau complex in Poland. Here, hundreds of thousands of people were systematically murdered, becoming the universal symbol of the Holocaust. Auschwitz remains an open wound in the collective conscience, a place of remembrance and warning. The primary victims of the Holocaust were millions of Jews from across Europe, brutally torn from their homes and lives. Their stories are harrowing testimonies of suffering and resistance. We cannot forget the faces and names of those who were annihilated. However, Jews were not the only groups persecuted by the Nazi regime. Political opponents, Roma, homosexuals, disabled people, and Soviet prisoners of war were also interned and killed. Nazism aimed to eliminate anyone who did not fit its distorted vision of society. The historical significance of the Holocaust is that it is one of the darkest and most painful pages in human history. Its memory is an enduring warning against hatred, racism, and intolerance in all its forms. We must learn from the past to build a better future. The end of the Second World War in 1945 brought with it the need for a new world order. The victorious powers faced the arduous task of rebuilding Europe and establishing a stable international order. The goal was to prevent future conflicts of such destructive proportions. The Yalta Conference, held in February 1945, was a pivotal moment in which the victorious powers defined their spheres of influence. The United States, the Soviet Union, and the United Kingdom met to plan the future of the post war world. The decisions made at Yalta had lasting consequences for geopolitics. During the conference, the foundation was laid for the division of Germany into occupation zones between the Allied powers. This division, initially provisional, would later lead to the creation of two distinct German states. Germany's fate became a symbol of the nascent Cold War. The Bretton Woods Agreement, signed in 1944, represented a turning point in the world economy. It established a new international monetary system based on the US dollar indices pegged to gold. This system aimed to promote economic stability and global cooperation. Following these agreements, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) was established with the aim of stabilizing global finances. The IMF was to prevent monetary crises and promote economic cooperation among member states. Its creation marked an important step towards global economic governance. Another milestone was the creation of the United Nations, an international organization founded in 1945. Its primary goal was to prevent future conflicts and build a more peaceful and prosperous world. The United Nations represented the hope for lasting international dialogue and cooperation. However, post war tensions soon emerged, leading to the so called Cold War. The world split into two opposing blocs, one led by the United States and the other by the Soviet Union. This polarization defined international politics for decades to come. The Second World War profoundly affected the 20th century, leaving an indelible mark on history and society. Its consequences extended far beyond its end, affecting every aspect of global life. It is impossible to understand the world today without referring to that period. The consequences of the war were tragic, not only in terms of human lives and material destruction. The conflict left behind a legacy of pain and psychological trauma that shaped entire generations. Many countries faced years of difficult reconstruction and reconciliation. Despite the pain and devastation, the war also generated hope for a future of peace and justice. The creation of international institutions and awareness of the human cost of war pushed toward building a more equitable world. Commitment to peace became a moral imperative. The legacy of the Second World War and the Holocaust is a constant warning to all humanity. It reminds us of the fragility of peace and the danger of ideological hatred. Each generation has the duty to know and remember to prevent similar atrocities from happening again. The memory of these events must be carefully cultivated, not only as a historical exercise but as an ethical foundation for the present and the future. Critical awareness and reflection on past tragedies are indispensable tools for forging a civic conscience. Civic engagement and the promotion of the values of tolerance and respect are the true legacy of those who fought for freedom.